All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our very first webinar. We wanted to do seminars last year. We had this big list, and we were really excited to do it. Then we all know what happened. We don't need to talk about that, that's for sure. And we didn't have enough of a chance to kind of pivot, get it together and do webinars. And we were really upset by that. We did do GA Kids TV. We did some stuff with CTV, but we never did this. And this is our focus. One of the things we love about, what we do here, a lot of the staff are passionate about their jobs. They're passionate about gardening. They're passionate about plants. And being able to share that with our customers and with Calgarians as a whole is really fantastic. So being able to bring you these is really exciting. And just because you signed up for this one doesn't mean you can't sign up for the rest of them. Sign up for all of them, whatever you want. We're really excited because we are doing GA Kids TV. We have some projects coming up. We're going to be helping out with the drop-in center, the Live Cardiovascular Institute. We're going to be working with the city of Calgary. We've already done some things with the University of Calgary. So there's a ton of different things happening right now, and the community is coming together. So a couple of things. As we progress, we're going to touch on everything. I think you guys know what the verdict is, or what the subject is. Verdict. What the subject is. We'll save the verdict until I'm finished. What the subject matter is. And what I'll ask is, if you can, save the questions for the end. There will be time at the end. However, if during when I'm talking, you start getting lost on comprehension, or you're like, I don't understand this point at all, fire a message into chats and Brandy will interrupt me. She's very good at interrupting. She has no qualms about interrupting me. No, none at all. She'll like walk into my office and make it her own. So don't you worry if you have a problem with you're not understanding something. We absolutely will clarify. And if it's a general question, like you just need some personal attention for a question, if we can save them till the end and we'll move it along, and absolutely we'll do it. We're going to try and bring this in on an hour. It's a pretty nice day in Calgary. The afternoon's meant to kind of so let's try and get you to enjoy your morning. Hopefully you all have got your coffees. I got my water. I had enough coffee. Maybe you can tell because I'm talking pretty fast. Maybe I should dial it back. I'm not going to dial it back. I don't dial it down. This is actually me dialed down. And we're going to get going. So welcome to our first webinar and welcome to an early spring in Calgary. I'm not sure where else you're tuning in from. Maybe you've had spring for a month. Maybe you've still got snow on the ground. Maybe you're in Australia and it's turning into autumn, and in which case, hi, not sure if we're going to be able to help you, but here in Calgary, in southern Alberta, actually, it's an early spring. Probably all of Alberta, but I haven't checked. What I want to touch on first is what we notice about spring as a whole. And although the snow is gone and the ice is gone, the sun is out, frost isn't happening anymore, things are still very brown. Trees haven't even opened up yet. And that's because things are still dormant. They haven't actually woken up. They are waking up, and that's not everything. So you're going to notice when you're out in your garden or you're out in the parks, in the mountains, prairies, wherever, things are moving at a different time, at a different pace. And that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly natural. A lot of times you'll see woodland, smaller, low-growing woodland plants wake up first. There's the bunchberry, the Cornus canadensis, the dogwood one, the small one. That often wakes up first. And a lot of those woodland ones and shade ones, the reason they come out first is because they grow under a thick canopy in the forest. That early spring sun is coming down. The trees haven't leafed out yet, so they pop out and start getting as much sun as they can. So you'll see certain plants waking up. Now, it's very different in our gardens. A lot of times we curate it, it's not a woodland setting, so things can be off. So and again, always remember there's exceptions. I do my best in the world of horticulture to never talk in absolutes unless I'm discussing the science. So I'm going to keep on my notes here. Like I said, I do digress. Absolutely. So what I want to talk about as well is when things wake up, a lot of people don't realize that in order for things to wake up, especially in the northern climate, now we're not talking about Florida, we're not talking about California, Mexico, Australia, but here in the climate we live in, things require a chill time, right? I just love that expression. I don't know who came up with that, but they nailed it, like chill time. Winter and chill. And what ends up happening is your trees, shrubs, and perennials specifically all require a different chill time. Now, there's graphs and there's charts, and if you start getting into it, certain things need X amount of certain units. What you can be sure of living in Canada, we are going to hit that minimum. We will be cold enough for every single plant to get a chill time. So what it's based on is how cold it gets and for how long. Those are the two main factors. We had about 3 weeks of -40 in February. We were below zero for the month before that. And then a few weeks after that, we were still below zero. So we have absolutely hit the chill time requirements. And certain trees are going to wake up. And you might see two trees on your property, and they're right next to each other. As far as you can see, they're getting the same amount of sun, same amount of water, same warmth. The sun's reflecting, and it's a nice warm area. And one of them, the leaves are popping, and the other one isn't. It's alive, but it's not moving. And it comes a couple of weeks after. And that's just how long it takes them to wake up after dormancy. Maybe they needed a little bit of extra time in that chill zone. Maybe they're a slower one to wake up. Another thing, certain trees are coated. If they can, if they have a harder climate zone, so if they can take more adverse conditions, they will leaf out earlier because they're not as worried about the frost burning their tips. If they are a more delicate tree, they'll wait a bit longer because they don't want their new shoots burned. And that's all coded into DNA and everything. And it's the same with perennials. A lot of you might notice woodruff, lily of the valley, daylilies popping up all over the place. Hostas, they're another one. They send those spikes up right away. But you might not be noticing, say, your sedums coming out, your echinacea. And again, it's just a slower pattern. But with that being said, again, with us curating gardens and creating these little mini ecosystems where heat gets trapped in between buildings and a ton of reflected light off houses and windows, certain plants will react differently. So again, there's no written rule. These are rules. There is a chill time. There is all of this stuff. But you can't set your clock. You can't be like, April 10th, my birch should be waking up. At this time, some years, we've had nothing but snow and -20 at this time. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at. But what it boils down to is spring is here. We know it. The snow is receding. The ice is receding. You know, there's still patches. I've got a spot in my backyard. It's still frozen. There's still ice. Every day it gets smaller, but it's still there. There's still some areas, some bodies of water here in Calgary. They're small, they're in the shade, and they've still got some ice on them and whatnot. Still some frozen ground, but it's receding. We know it is. The birds are returning. The bird song is everywhere. The robins hopping around, listening and everything. Fun fact, robins have got some of the best hearing of any birds. That's why you see them run across the garden. They tilt their head. They're listening for the worms and the grubs moving underground. So robins have amazing, amazing hearing. That's why they're so hard to creep up on. I've seen bees. I've already seen bees out. So the pollinators are out there making the rounds. The grass is greening up. The plants, like I said, the daylilies and the hostas are sending up their shoots. My peony. So there is a lot happening out there. There is no mistaking it is spring. So let's talk about that. How can we help our gardens? Now that we've established what spring is, what we're seeing, and what's happening, now let's talk about what we can do in our gardens. And I think the number one job a lot of people think of when they think of spring and they think of their garden is their spring raking. Spring and autumn, that's when you see this handy dandy tool. And there's a good reason for that. Autumn, all the leaves are down, there's debris, branches off trees, etc., etc. We want to get it cleaned up for the spring. But in the spring, the mistake I see a lot of people doing, especially early right now, is going out there and going hard, going like hell for leather on that grass. Like they're sweating, and there's dust around them, and they're giving it too much. Absolutely too much. You want to dial that back. The reason is you want to be gentle with your raking. Again, what you're looking for is you want to clean up the debris that you missed. Maybe it snowed, some leaves fell down, and then it snowed again. Well, those leaves are going to be on your grass. A windstorm brought some branches down over the winter. That kind of garbage that's blowing in, right? It always happens. Doesn't matter how clean we put our garden to bed, there's always debris in the spring. It's, at least in my gardens, that's what I've always found. It can be massively varied from year to year, but you're always going to get some debris. So you want to get that debris. The other thing you want to do is with the snow and the frost and the ice, some people walk across it in the winter, take a shortcut through the snow on the grass. That's fine too. It's up to you how much you care about your lawn. But the grass, normally this is how grass goes, right? Like grass likes to stand up, likes to be all nice. Well, now it's all mooshed down on top of each other. So all you want to do when you're doing it is as you're lifting the debris off, just stand it up, just like brushing your hair. When you brush your hair, you're not like, gah. Nice and gentle, you're just combing it out. That's what you're doing right now. And what you're going to do is you want to lift that grass. You want to get it open. You want the airflow to get through it. You want it to start drying out so it's not sitting in water and you're getting mold and you're getting that compression and the grass is starting to rot on the crown. So you want to open it up for an airflow. And at this time of year, as it's greening up, it's growing and it'll be sending up new shoots. You go in and vigorously start ripping into that. You're going to damage those new shoots and you're actually going to stunt the overall growth of the grass. Now, you absolutely can get out there and go hard and dethatch later. I just don't recommend that's how you start. So I dethatch my lawn, but it's not my first raking. My first raking is just nice and good way to ease into it. It's nice and gentle. Some thatch will come up. Obviously, you're lifting the grass and you're bringing out the dead, the dead lawn and the thatch. But I'm not power raking it. I'm not dethatching it. It's a little bit early for that. And then the other mistake I see people make is, again, it's enthusiasm. And I never want to dial back enthusiasm in a garden. I am all for enthusiastic gardening. Bring it on. This is why I do this. This is why we do GA Kids TV. This is why I talk to kids about it and work with various groups. I love seeing people be successful and I love seeing them want to get in the garden. I don't believe that anybody has a black thumb. It's like, if I need to change a light bulb in my house, I can do that. If I need to redo all the wiring, I can't do it. And I don't expect that I should be able to. I'm not an electrician. An electrician can tell me how to do it, can come and do it. Same with horticulture. You got a pot like this, you're probably deadheaded. Maybe you don't know how to make this pot. Maybe you don't know how to plant. And that's what we're here for. We're certainly not here to tell you to not be enthusiastic and not garden. We're here to help you do it successfully and give you our expertise. So with that being said, with the enthusiasm, a lot of people don't wait for their lawns to dry out. So it's still wet. And I see people do it. They walk out there and they step and the ground squishes up around their boot, and then they start raking, and they're pulling out clumps of grass. Grass isn't even fully awake yet. They end up with mud everywhere. Their rake is covered in mud. The grass is destroyed. Wait for it to be fully dry. And again, when it's nice and dry, then you can get that air through it and everything. A little bit of moisture from an overnight frost or dew or something like that is totally fine. I'm talking about like my backyard. I said at the beginning, still has ice in certain patches. I haven't even touched it. I haven't even looked at it. It's covered in debris. I want to get it cleaned up. I will, but not right now. I'll get to that when I get to it. So that's kind of where you want to go with that. You want to wait till it's dried out. Then you can lift, get that air circulation happening, and it'll be fine. And then the other thing is right now, we're going to talk about fertilizing. Okay, that's a whole segment to itself in this discussion. But I always recommend it's still a little early to get that seed and fertilizer down. We don't know what that spring weather's going to bring. You know, you're probably okay to do it, but why not wait? Why not wait and make sure you're okay? Gardening, especially in an early spring, we've got a long season. We're going to push through till October. Fantastic. We don't want everything actively going super hard right now, and then it's exhausted in August, right? So slow and steady is the key. So you can absolutely seed and fertilize now. I'd still wait a couple of weeks, get it raked, get it actively growing. If your lawn isn't actively growing, so my front lawn, my back lawn where it's frozen, front lawn is actively growing, it's greening up. I don't know how much it's growing. My back lawn isn't doing anything. I put fertilizer down. That fertilizer is going to start breaking down, but there's nothing to gobble it up because there's no active growth. So it's just sitting dormant. So I'm wasting my fertilizer. Then as we get more rain, or if I have to water, we'll talk about that in a bit, I'm diluting it so the plant isn't getting it. So I think I fertilized properly, but I actually haven't. So that's why I ask people to wait on that. But again, some people can't. It's enthusiastic. And we'll talk more about fertilizing if that's how you're going to do it on that. So that's what raking boils down to. Same thing, small little shrub rake. Clean that debris out from around your shrubs. Get those, leaves and sticks and garbage off your yard. Get that grass lifted. Get the airflow. Thin out the thatch, but allow those new shoots to come in. And just remember, gentle and timing are the two key words there. And if you go with that approach, you'll be fine. You can, like I said, save the vigorous approach for later on, and you should be fine. So, with that being said, now we are going to move into fertilizing. And fertilizer, the first thing I want to start off with fertilizer is what I just said with your lawn. And it might sound like I'm going to beat a dead horse, but that's okay. I like to get my points across. Only fertilize active growth. If your plant isn't growing, and I'm talking your perennials now. We will talk about lawns again, but we are talking about perennials. As you can hear, by the way, we are open. There's nobody around me 6 feet. I'm more than 6 feet away from my admin, so we're all good back here, but we are open. We are fully COVID practicals. You saw me wearing a mask, hopefully, when I came on set. The moment I step off set, I'll have a mask on. People lip read, or sometimes it's muted. That's why we chose not to. We are more than 6 feet apart, and we hand sanitize, hand washing, social distancing, everything else. So that you will hear some chaos around us. But sorry, back to what I was saying, fertilize. If you fertilize a non-active plant, so your plant is dormant, it's sitting there, you know it's a shrub, you know it's alive, but it's not actively growing. There's no buds on it. Nothing is leafing out. It's just sitting there. Don't fertilize it. It doesn't need it. It only needs fertilizer when it's actively growing. And the reason for that is exactly what I said with the lawn. That fertilizer sitting there, one, it's going to get more and more diluted. The plant isn't going to be able to use it. And what's going to end up happening is you think you fertilized properly, but you haven't. So now your fertilizer regime, your fertilizer schedule is completely off. The second thing that can happen is it can actually start choking the plant out. It's sitting there, but now the plant can't get the actual nutrients and water it needs because it's sitting in fertilizer. So it makes it really, really, really disadvantageous to fertilize your plants when they're dormant. So you want to make sure you have that active growth. And then the other thing about fertilizing as well, if your beds are clean, if you stay on top of them, you cleaned everything out, you have no weeds in there, go ahead. If you haven't weeded and all of the weeds are there and they're all green and looking awesome, don't fertilize. Again, if your plant isn't growing and the weeds are and you fertilize, a plant that does not need fertilizer to thrive is going to gobble that fertilizer up. What do you think is going to happen? The weeds are going to become more aggressive, harder to get rid of. Those roots are going to develop stronger, more blooms, more seeds. So always try and get rid of your weeds. And we're going to talk about weeding. We'll get to that before you fertilize. And I have a lot of people ask when it comes to that fertilizer, does it matter, you know, if it's granular or if it's water soluble? It doesn't. It really doesn't. If your garden is ready to fertilize, fertilize. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. And pro tip, just because you guys signed up for our first seminar, less is more. More is not more with fertilizer. Less is more. You always want to dial it down a little. Don't dial it up. So if you have something and it says 10 milliliters to a liter, okay? You go, oh, well, if 10's good, 20 should be awesome. You wouldn't do that with medication from the doctor. If the doctor's like, you need to take 1 Tylenol, you wouldn't go, well, if 1's good, 4 must be awesome. Same thing with your plants. You will damage them. They will look amazing. They're going to go whoosh. They're going to shoot up. And then in a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, they're going to start falling over. They can't sustain themselves. So dial it back. If it's 10 mils, go 8 mils. The plant will still get all that fertilizer. You're also forcing the plant to look after itself and to actively grow and search the nutrients it needs itself. As for that, pick the right fertilizer, pre-fertilizer, all-purpose, perennial fertilizer, whatever you might have going. Get that. When in doubt, all-purpose. You can use this on lawn if you have to. And honestly, it doesn't matter, whatever your poison. I like water soluble. I'm lazy, so if I can water and fertilize at the same time, right? One person's laziness is another person's efficiency. I know some people who they're like, oh, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. They prefer using a time-delayed granular fertilizer. Whatever works best for you, it doesn't matter. Always follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Ask us for help. If you buy it online and you're really confused, they've all got descriptions and everything. We have a fertilizer landing page coming to help you understand it. But if you get stuck, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, give us a call, come in and see us, whatever it takes. We'll help you get there. So that's fertilizing your flower beds. Now, what about fertilizing your lawns? So again, we're going to talk about it. Weed first. We'll get to that. That's coming up. And use a spring blend. So I think the one I picked when I wrote it down was 30-0-10. Yeah, there's my notes. This one is 25-0-12. Essentially the same thing, a few numbers off. All this is your NPK. You'll see all fertilizers have it. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Okay, all fertilizers. This one was 20-20-20. Okay, they've all got it. And it's just what a plant needs to get it going. This one here, nitrogen, it's going to help it green up. It's going to help those new shoots we spoke about get stronger. It's going to get photosynthesis. Roots are going to grow, etc., etc. The last one is just basically making sure all of the plant operates at great efficiency. So this is a really, really amazing spring blend. This is a great fertilizer, actually. It's our first year carrying it. And it's Alberta. This is made for the Alberta climate by a Canadian company. I absolutely love it. It is actually my new favorite. lawn fertilizer, spring fertilizer. So I recommend having a look for this, but that's what you want to do. You want to use a spring blend, and you want to get that up there. And then when you fertilize, again, said we would talk about that. So I like to fertilize when I seed, okay? And what I do is my grass is clean all the debris off it. It's growing now. It's actively growing. We're into May. Everything looks awesome. It's green. It's healthy. Now I'm going to take my rake again. Now I'm going to give it that vigorous threshing and really get out that horrible layer of thatch. Now I'm going to clean it out now that I know my grass is strong. Then I'm going to top dress areas that might not have made it through. And all that is, I'm going to throw down seed. And I think, Brandy, we have a lawn seminar coming up, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
So if you're interested in that, we will go into this more detail. I'm going to throw down my seed. Then I'm going to put peat moss or topsoil or whatever on top. Then I'm going to put fertilizer on that. Basically, what happens, fertilizer breaks down, the granular fertilizer breaks down, sits in there. As the seed grows, it absorbs it, and then it goes through to the grass beneath it. Voila, hey presto, everything up and running. So that's when you want to do it. And again, active growth with fertilizer, active growing. If it's not actively growing, you're wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting money, you're doing more damage than good, all for the sake of waiting a week. So, you know, if you can time it, that's what I strongly recommend. So I think one thing that really, really is hard for a number of people in the spring is pruning. And pruning intimidates a lot of people for a lot of reasons. I think it's one of the reasons why people are gun shy, why a lot of shrubs kind of get overgrown because they don't know what they're doing. And we absolutely will talk more about pruning later, but this is the spring pruning. Now with pruning, I want you to remember, I think I made a slide, perfect, the 5 Ds. There's 5 Ds, okay? And it's dead, diseased, damaged, dangerous, okay? Those 4 are kind of on their own, and then desirable, me. So think about that, okay? That wasn't in my notes. I ad-libbed that. So dead, diseased, damaged, and dangerous, how about it? Get them off. They are not doing your plant any good. Prune correctly. So I think I've got a slide coming up next that shows how to prune correctly. We'll get to that. But those are not going to help you. You want to get rid of them now. With dangerous, what I'm implying with that can be anything from you're walking down a pathway into your house and there's a branch coming out at eye level, okay? Or maybe a kid's eye level. Maybe it's going to rip pants. Something like that. Good idea to get rid of that, okay? The other ones could be a large branch you've moved into a new house and it's hanging right over your roof. Something like that. Maybe you don't like that. Power lines are getting interfered with. You might need professional help with the dangerous ones. You might need professional help with all of it. Please assess, prune carefully. And if you don't know what you're doing, please, please, please talk to a professional. Like we said, spring is an awesome time. It's hopeful, it's joyous, there's flowers, there's birds singing, there's work to be done in the garden finally, there's color, there's all kinds of great things. Don't need to get hurt pruning a tree, you don't need to get hurt pruning a shrub. Please, please, please ask for help if you need it. Now, if you don't, and you're looking at your shrub, maybe it's a shrub in the bed next to your house, snow and ice came off the roof and bam, crushed off of it. It sucks. Prune it, okay? That dead and broken and damaged is not going to help. Just like us, we got a cut or a break. We need to take care of it. It's not going to get better on its own. It might be as easy as polysporin and a Band-Aid. It might need stitches. God forbid it needs surgery, but we have to take care of it. Same thing with that. It's not just going to magically get better on its own. You're going to have to look after it. So. And then the desirable, I'll touch on that. The desirable is the shape you want. Maybe you love the way your rose is growing and you're looking. So you keep that. Always do the desirable last. That's the shape you want it to go to. Those are the branches you want to keep and the shape you want it to have. So you do need to prune for that. You do need to prune for shape. That's developing an eye. It comes with practice. I have every faith you guys can do it. Again, ask for help, ask questions, reach out to us. We love to answer it. Come on in and visit us, shoot us a message. Fire us a comment on our social. We're pretty active on all of our media. Brandy is anyway, and she'll catch it. And what Brandy is amazing at doing is getting the questions to the right department. If Brandy can't answer it herself, she will find the people in store who can. So we got your back on that. So what you want to look at as well, when it comes to pruning, okay, is prune correctly. So even if something is broken, if the branch is here and it's broken like this, don't just cut it off at the break. Cut back to a living piece of wood on a correct prune. So cut back to an active growing bud or cut into an actual collar. And what that's going to do is it's going to train the plant to grow properly. You're not just leaving a dead stump. And leaving a stump like that, you cut a branch right in the middle. You don't cut to a collar. You don't cut to a bud. You will allow infections to get in. You cut to a bud or you cut to a collar, the plant has natural enzymes it can release that will help prevent pathogen infestation. You don't cut to that, it's not great. That's where you can start getting those mushy ends. You can start getting fungus that'll get into the plant. So even if it is dead, diseased, damaged, dangerous, cut accordingly. And always clean your pruners. These are nice and new. I would not take these into a garden, okay? Great pruners, they're old school. I found these in my shed, okay? These are awesome. You know what they need? A cleaning, okay? I need to take them apart, soak them in CLR. I need to scrub them down, okay? I need to rinse them off. I need to get them nice and shiny, and then I need them sharp. I need them nice. So when I make a cut, again, we'll think about ourselves here. What's easier to heal? A surgical cut or a jagged gash? Jagged gash, gardening, I've cut myself enough times. Cut myself with an X-Acto and I've cut myself on a rusty piece of metal. The X-Acto wound heals like that, a couple of stitches, good to go. The other one, they had to clean it out for infection. They had to actually cut some, anyway, I won't get into the details, but a clean cut heals better. Clean and sharp pruners. And if your pruners are finished, they're finished. You know, sometimes the blade just gets so ruined. It doesn't hurt to get a new pair. We leave them outside, they get rusted. And it doesn't hurt to clean them on the fly. You're working around the garden, you clean up something especially diseased. Now you got another shrub to clean. Rubbing alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, dump it on, wipe the blade, you're good to go. Okay, you don't have to take them inside and do a huge sterilization process every time, but cleanliness will help you. It is your friend. And sharpness is your friend. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I haven't sharpened. I've cut a branch because it's damaged. My cut has been rough and I've done more damage. I've had to cut again. Okay. I hate doing a job twice. So that's what I strongly recommend on your pruners is cut properly and cut well. So now we'll talk about cultivating and weeding. And honestly, the best thing about that is at this time of year, both at the same time. So as you're cultivating and as you're breaking up that soil, you can also get the weeds out. And it's a great job to do first. A lot of people do raking first. That's why I started with raking. This is actually my favorite job, and I'll tell you why. It breaks up the soil. So much like the grass, if you remember, I said the grass gets all crushed with the snow. The soil does the same thing. It's had 3 feet of snow sitting on it, minus 40. It's just frozen solid. You're going to break that surface tension. You're going to open the soil up. You're going to allow a gas exchange. You're going to allow better absorption of water and nutrients into the soil. So breaking that up before you fertilize is a great idea. And then the second thing is as you're weeding, so, hand cultivator. I don't care if you've got a full-length cultivator, if you've got a garden hoe, if you're using a rake, whatever it might be. Doesn't matter, even a weeding tool, that'll help break it up. But I'm going to show with this one. As I do it, bam, and I rip out my weed, okay, and my crabgrass, it lifts out. You know what I do? Throw it on the lawn behind me because I'm still going to have to rake the debris off my lawn. So I'll just add some debris to it. So I always like to start by weeding and cultivating. And one great thing is at this time of year, it's not too early to add your amendments to your soil, to cultivate them in. So get your compost in, get your peat moss, your coir, your rock dust. Again, whatever your poison is, whatever your plants call for, whatever it is you think you need, get them in there, mix it in. Please, 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 for your back, for your time, for your strength, for my sanity, don't mix, don't cultivate deeper than that. I see it every year. I see people out there and they're spading it in. Like they're literally, they've got a shovel, a proper grown-up shovel. Like this one just works better for the set. They're going the full length of their blade. Even this blade is too deep. Look at the difference, okay, of the depth of those. That's more than enough. That's more than enough. 1.5 inches, 2 inches. What will happen is you'll work that peat moss and compost and manure, volcanic mineral dust, biochar. Again, whatever you pick, you're going to work that in. Rain, you watering, plants growing, planting your new plants in there is going to work it deeper and deeper. Soil naturally shifts as it is underground. Things are moving. Bugs are happening. We don't get to see it all, but it's always moving and it's always going to go deeper. Spading it in that deep, you're wasting, again, time, money, energy. So that's what I recommend, and get those weeds out. Now, lawn weeds, and I know they drive people nuts, and I'm going to say it, please leave the weeds until the pollinators have been. Please, please, please. A lot of times, those weeds in your lawn are a very early source of food for the pollinators. There isn't much out there right now, and the bees are already out. The dandelions are crucial. Okay. Once that flower is done, before it goes to seed, so when the yellow goes up and it goes to that nasty knot, get rid of it. Get rid of it with vengeance. Like, rah, kill it, whatever it takes. But until that happens, I advocate leaving them. If you can't, please dig them out. If you can't do that, dandelion weeder. Put it in, pop it, pull it out with your hand. If you can't do that and you're going to spray, please do not spray when they're in bloom. Spray before or after they bloom so that it doesn't have any adverse effect on the pollinators. True story, anecdotal story. I know I keep looking at the time. Holy moly, I didn't think it was going to take this long, but I got to tell you this. Years ago, a neighbor came to see me and asked why my garden, like why I had so many tomatoes, why I had so many cucumbers, my flowers, etc., etc. And he did not. And I said to him, I was like, well, you know, no offense, but I see you out there all the time and you're spraying your lawn and you're getting rid of the clover and the dandelions. I'm encouraging dandelions and clover into my lawn. So I have pollinators. Pollinators are coming to my garden. When they're there, they're like, oh, hey, a tomato plant. Let's go and hit that up as well. He had an expansive lawn that was just green, beautiful to play golf on, but it was just green. And then at the back, you had 2 or 3 tomatoes. The pollinators weren't even seeing that. They were seeing mine. I don't think he believed me. I don't know if he could get his head around it. He never changed. We had amazing produce. He did not. But with that being said, I understand it. I understand people love that beautiful lawn. There are ways around it. Weed before you fertilize, of course, and get that out. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish up now with watering. So a lot of times, for some reason at this time of year, I think it's because snow is wet, it's melting, bam, the gardens should be wet enough. Not true. I've already had 4 or 5 people ask me personally, both in-store as customers and family and friends, is it too early to water my garden? It is not. Water as needed. You don't want to overwater. I wouldn't be out there with a sprinkler going. Again, if a plant isn't really actively growing, it can't drink the water. It might only be 5 degrees. It might be an overcast day. That water isn't going anywhere. And you're creating a breeding ground for rot. You're creating a breeding ground for bugs, pathogens, powdery mildews, black spot, rust. All of those things will love it if you leave moisture sitting in your garden. But then underwatering, you're going to end up with stunted growth. So what'll end up happening is the plant won't have enough water to push itself growing. So it's just going to wait until it does get the water. If it's a production plant, your tomatoes, strawberries, rhubarb, cucumbers, peppers, whatever. I always call those production plants your fruits, your veggies, your edibles. It needs water to produce. You stunt that growth, it's not going to be great. But you know, you've got to take it rule of thumb. If it is blazing hot for 3 days, your garden faces south, you can always do the finger check and stick your finger into the soil. Okay, we'll do it on this planter actually. Okay, so as you can see, soil stuck to my finger. It's damp. I can feel that it's damp. If I'd done that and that had come out bone dry, well then there's literally no point. I'm like, okay, that needs water, but this soil here, pull a little bit out, it's clumping, it's nice and moist. So you can always do your finger test and get an idea for it. It's not great to overwater, it's not great to underwater. There is no rule of thumb at this time of year. We might have a day 16 degrees and windy and your garden dries out like that. The next day, 4 degrees, overcast, no wind, the moisture sits all day. So you've really kind of got to keep an eye on the weather, water accordingly. And again, if you're unsure, ask. That's what people are here for. We love to help. So I'll wrap it up there. I hope you guys had fun. I think I stayed on topic. I made it through my notes. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll open it up now. There's a lot going on. If I can't hear your questions, Brandy can certainly pass them on to me. So if you have any Q&A, let me know.